Snow squalls across the region, possibly a sign of what's heading our way this week. We are tracking our next weather maker and the threat of heavier snowfall in the coming days. 2 teens injured in an Essex double shooting, where the investigation stands as residents and prosecutors continue to raise juvenile crime concerns.
The first votes in the race for the White House about to take place here in Iowa, but some weather complications and dramatic developments. I'm Scott Thuman in Des Moines with all of that coming up.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Snow squalls reaching across our region on a frigid Sunday afternoon, popping up from Baltimore County to Carroll County to right here in the city. You can see the high wind whipping these flakes around as many areas are seeing snowfall for the first time this year. This was the scene in Towson, this time lapse showing the storm moving in and out within a 2-hour window. And tonight we're looking ahead to a week that could bring some significant winter weather. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. We are keeping an eye on our next weather maker, expected to bring even colder temperatures and high winds to go along with potential snow. Let's get right to meteorologist Jasmine Lomax tracking the storm's latest movements. It has been a busy couple of weeks, Jasmine.
It really has, Mary. We've been dealing with some cool temperatures, but tomorrow, those numbers get even lower. We're only talking temperatures barely above freezing, and that chance for snow is going to start tomorrow afternoon. Notice we are nice and dry thanks to high pressure. However, we are keeping track of some areas of snow, parts of our region in purple, looking at the potential for some winter weather. But that snow is going to continue to move northeast over the next 24 hours, and that means snow here in Maryland. Notice we're mainly talking parts of Virginia under that winter weather advisory. That's where we could see some snow tomorrow morning. But as we continue into the late afternoon, you can expect snow around the Baltimore metro. Coming up, we'll have a close
during which some of the panelists sounded off on the Child Interrogation Protection Act. They want lawmakers to take action right now in Annapolis. The law states police can't question children without parental approval and an attorney present, designed to protect children's rights. But Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy argue the law hinders their investigators. They argue parents should have the final say if their child can be questioned.
If the parent wants their child to just tell the truth, why can't they? I really think that we're putting parents in just a horrible position to say, we want to hold you accountable for your child, but you can't even hold your child accountable to you.
One of the things I always hear Senator Jill Carter say, poor black and brown children. We're saying, do black and brown children, poor black and brown children, or poor white children, or individuals who don't have the financial means, don't they deserve to have a lawyer sit next to them? Because God forbid all of us, our children would have lawyers sit next to them.
Well, Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost will be in Annapolis following every step of this year's legislative session over the next 3 months. You can watch all of her coverage on air and online at foxbaltimore.com. Police are investigating a deadly shooting early this morning on the Jones Falls Expressway in Baltimore. According to BPD, 27-year-old Christopher Lee got into an argument with a woman while they were driving in a car north on the JFX I-83. Police say Lee shot the woman after an argument. The woman was pronounced dead when police arrived at the scene near the Chase Street exit. Lee faces charges of second-degree murder and is being held at central booking. Fox 45 News has obtained surveillance video from a deadly shooting Friday in Pigtown. The video shows 2 suspects enter a barber shop along Washington Boulevard, at which point people begin scrambling and ducking for cover inside the shop. Seconds later, the victim attempts to run away before the suspects open fire and kill him. A barber inside the shop says the violence is hitting too close to home, and he hopes lawmakers can do something to get illegal guns off city streets.
How are they getting in their hands? Where are they coming from? Why are they so easy access?
In Annapolis, Attorney General Anthony Brown is proposing a law to go after gun manufacturers. He plans to push for a public nuisance law holding gun makers responsible for gun crimes. Political analyst John Deedy calls that plan a distraction from the state's real gun issues.
It draws attention to the gun problem, but it doesn't solve the problem. That's an easy target to basically say, hey, we're going after this. No one's talking about, maximum sentences for carrying and things like that, and doing other penalties that would discourage gun use.
Deedy says it's not likely the proposal will get any traction in Annapolis, and if it were to become law, it would immediately be challenged in court. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan is throwing his support behind Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley, ending any speculation about Hogan launching a third-party campaign for president. He says Haley is the right person to give Republicans the best chance in November.
Nikki Haley's got all the momentum, and what this race is really all about is to try to nominate the strongest possible nominee for November. It's time for the party to get behind Nikki Haley.
Well, Hogan's endorsement comes just one day before the Iowa caucus, as one Republican candidate is about to take a massive step forward. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman's in Iowa. He brings us up to speed.
Bone-chilling temperatures, absolutely. Will they be a factor? That's to be determined. I spoke to one couple who said the cold may not be what keeps voters away. It could be the candidates.
Leading up to a freezing Iowa caucus, many GOP candidates feel like they got the cold shoulder. Only 3 candidates in double digits, and former President Trump way on top.
I am not going to be a dictator. I'm going to manage like we did. We were so successful that the country was coming together.
Chasing him, and polls showing them far behind, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley.
On issue after issue, I've stood in there, I've fought for people, but I've won those big fights. And that's what we need to do again as a country.
You deserve an America without drama. You deserve an America that's better than whether you have a couple of 80-year-olds running for president. You deserve better than what we've got.
The final Des Moines Register poll, considered the gold standard, released Saturday, shows Trump way ahead of the pack with 48% support. Haley above DeSantis by 4 points, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy is at 8%.
In recent years, Iowa hasn't been a great predictor of who will wind up as the nominee, but it can make or break campaigns.
It's not just about where you finish in the Iowa caucuses, it's about where you finish relative to expectations. Even if DeSantis or Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy can pull off a massive upset, that doesn't guarantee that it's going to be an earthquake that forever changes this.
Remember, Joe Biden came in 4th place here in Iowa back in 2020 and went on to be the nominee. And Ted Cruz beat Donald Trump here in 2016, and we all know how that turned out. So, yes, this seems a lot more predictable this time around, but Iowa does love to deliver a surprise, so we'll have to stay tuned. In Des Moines, I'm Scott Thuman.
Police are investigating 3 potentially explosive devices found this morning along Guilford Avenue in East Baltimore. Police say they originally responded to a ShotSpotter alert, finding the remnants of 2 devices when they arrived around 5:30 this morning, and also located a 3rd potentially unexploded device. BPD's bomb squad and ATF took the remnants to a secure location, and the scene was secured shortly after. No injuries have been reported. According to the Daily Mail, the president of Johns Hopkins Health System and the dean of medical faculty are apologizing for a newsletter written by the university's chief diversity officer, Dr. Sharita Golden. The newsletter outlined privilege as the diversity word of the month, defining privilege as a set of unearned benefits given to people in a specific group, singling out groups like white people, men, middle-aged people, Christians, and people who speak English. After an outcry about divisive language on social media, Johns Hopkins leadership issued a statement saying the newsletter's definition of privilege runs counter to the values of the institution. Golden also apologized for the language used in her letter. Well, we are more than halfway through Wild Card Weekend as the NFL playoff picture is getting clearer. Potential matchups for the Ravens and how the team is staying fresh during the bye week.
Growing signs of desperation at the southern border. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at the changing debate in Washington and a plea from the president.
Snowstorm stretching across the nation this weekend, impacting the NFL playoff game in Buffalo and potentially the Iowa caucuses tomorrow. Air travelers are experiencing some headaches. FlightAware's misery map shows more than 1,000 delays and cancellations across the country today. And this next weather maker could bring some snow to our area. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax has our up-to-the-minute forecast. Jasmine.
Thanks, Mary. It's finally our turn for a little bit of snow, and that's going to start tomorrow. First, tonight, we're going to stay nice and dry. We're cloudy right now with temperatures around 29. But notice that wind chill, it only feels like it's 21 degrees. It is going to be bitter cold tonight. And if you have to go anywhere tomorrow morning, you certainly want the layers. We're looking at temperatures currently in the 20s, a couple spots in the 30s, a little higher closer to the bay, but all over the state. It's cold. The wind chills are even lower. Now tonight, temperatures drop to the low to mid 20s. That's close to average for this time of year, but we don't get much warmer by the afternoon as high temperatures only reach the mid 30s. That's followed by the mid 30s once again on Tuesday. Notice that we do have that chance for some early morning snow showers. After that, we're talking the low 30s, but back to dry weather, and that's going to be on Wednesday. So breaking down the timing, notice right now we are nice and dry. High pressures over our region, keeping us dry, but we've got all of that snow that's going to continue to push toward the northeast tomorrow. We're seeing areas in purple, including parts of Virginia, under a winter weather advisory. They could see some snow starting off tomorrow morning, but for the Baltimore metro, we're looking at the afternoon for those impacts. So we wake up to mostly cloudy skies. Then as we continue into the afternoon, the snow spreads across the state. So this is around 2, 3 o'clock. If you'll be driving, expect the snow starting around that time. It's going to continue throughout the afternoon and the evening and even into the night. Now it's looking mostly dry as we start off on Tuesday morning after sunrise. Continuing into the afternoon, those clouds are going to linger and temperatures remain below average. Here are the latest snowfall totals from the National Weather Service. We're looking at 3 to 4 inches across the Baltimore area, just south, possibly 2 to 3 inches, and then a little bit farther west, 1 to 2 inches of snow. But of course, these totals could change. Make sure that you are following along for the latest updates. 26 for the low temperature tonight with mostly cloudy skies. It could be a little breezy at times with gusts up to 20 miles per hour, and that's going to mean a lower wind chill. High temperatures tomorrow will barely be above freezing, 35 with the chance for that snow in the afternoon. The snow continues overnight and into Tuesday morning, 36 and mostly dry by the afternoon. 33 and nice and sunny on Wednesday, then 37 on Thursday. We'll have the next chance for snow overnight and possibly a rain and snow mix on Friday with highs around 36. After that, the weekend will be mostly dry, 30 on Saturday, 35 on Sunday. Back to you.
Thank you. Well, anytime severe weather hits, you can have the latest forecast right at your fingertips. Download the Fox 45 Weather Authority app. Just search WBFF in your app store. A standoff is escalating at the southern border as state officials in Texas have blocked federal authorities from reaching part of the border. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has the fallout.
Migrants from around the world appear undeterred in making the dangerous journey to the United States. President Biden asked Saturday if he would call the situation at the southern border a crisis. No matter how you define it, the reality is captured in videos like this. The Texas National Guard using shields to try to prevent migrants from crossing. The standoff between state and federal authorities growing more tense in Eagle Pass, Texas, where the Texas National Guard has blocked U.S. Border Patrol agents from entering Shelby Park. Biden's Justice Department once again asking the Supreme Court to weigh in and order Texas to stop the blockade, arguing Texas has effectively blocked Border Patrol from doing its job. Governor Greg Abbott disagrees.
Texas has the legal authority to control ingress and egress into any geographic location in the state of Texas, and that authority is being asserted with regard to that park in Eagle Pass, Texas, to maintain operational control.
But the standoff is being blamed for the death of 3 people, a woman and 2 children, who DHS officials say drowned in the Rio Grande River. Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar blaming Texas Military Department soldiers, who he says would not grant access to the U.S. Border Patrol to the migrants, even in the event of an emergency. How to respond to what most do call a crisis has been at the center of negotiations on Capitol Hill, with a potential agreement reached on a spending bill that would fund the government through March, though some Republicans are pushing back.
Secure the border. If the border is not secured, this government does not deserve to be funded.
Others on Capitol Hill targeting decisions by other states. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy reintroducing a bill following a decision by California to expand health care to undocumented migrants.
Medicaid for migrants will be a magnet for more people to come to that state illegally.
Border battles taking new shape in the shadow of the 2024 presidential campaign. The growing sense of urgency, now a top concern for voters as well. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
Coming up today marks 100 days since the initial Hamas attack on Israel. The growing divide in the U.S. as lawmakers and protesters voice their strong opinions on the conflict. A somber scene in Tel Aviv as Israeli residents mark 100 days since the initial Hamas attack. Hundreds of people calling for the release of Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza. The rally is lasting for 24 hours. Now, Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin echoed those calls, calling for the release of 130 hostages still in Gaza. He says Hamas must allow organizations like the Red Cross to have access to hostages and refugees to help them work through the immense trauma caused by the war. House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republican lawmakers are threatening to punish federal workers who participate in a planned walkout protesting the Biden administration's support for Israel. Reports claim several hundred workers inside the White House, Pentagon, and the State Department plan on walking off the job Tuesday. This comes after thousands of people marched through the streets of D.C. this weekend in support of refugees in Gaza. They say Israel has gone too far in its retaliation. Former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby returns to federal court this week. The timeline in Greenbelt and why one attorney says Mosby's potential testimony is a key piece of evidence. Former Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will be back in federal court this week for her second trial. These charges relate to false statements on a loan application surrounding her purchase of vacation homes in Florida. It's possible Mosby will testify this time. She did not testify at her previous trial on perjury charges. Federal prosecutors claim Mosby failed to disclose the $45,000 tax lien on her home in Baltimore when she bought the two Florida homes. Fox 45 News spoke to attorney Jeremy Eldridge, who's not associated with this trial, but he says it could be difficult to prove Mosby's innocence if she doesn't take the stand.
It's very difficult to imagine how you could present that testimony through just Nick Mosby when it's her signature on the document, or else she'll be left exactly where she was before, and that's with no story to tell the jury. The issue is, if you are going to utilize this innocent spouse defense, part of it looks at what do you do for a living? How complicated are you as a person? So the idea that she's not complex or complicated or lacks finesse to understand her tax filings and just signs pieces of paper under perjury without reviewing them, it really is going to be a difficult argument for a jury to buy, given just her complexity as a public figure.
In November, Mosby was found guilty on those 2 perjury charges. She faces up to 5 years in prison on each charge, but won't be sentenced until after the conclusion of this second trial. Jury selection again begins Tuesday. The trial begins Thursday, and we will have full coverage. The waiting game continues for the Ravens ahead of next weekend's divisional round matchup in Baltimore. How the AFC playoff picture is shaping up, that's coming up on Sports Unlimited. If you've watched the Kansas City Chiefs this year, you have likely seen a lot of Taylor Swift. And last night she wore this 87 jacket representing her boyfriend, of course, Travis Kelce's jersey number. The jacket, though, was custom made by Christian Juszczyk, wife of former Raven and a Towson graduate who specializes in custom fashion design. Well, Juszczyk got a shout out from Towson University's alumni page on social media. She said getting Swift to wear her jacket was an honor of a lifetime. She looks good in it. Well, that's all the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Morgan Outsett, Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Thank you, Mary. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, the Ravens knew they had to wait this weekend for their divisional round matchup, but it's turned into a 3-day weekend thanks to weather in Buffalo.
Can't control that. Steelers-Bills postponed until tomorrow, which means the Ravens and the Flock are waiting an additional 27 hours.
Yeah, no fun. A season filled with ups and downs, more downs than what Maryland is used to, but Kevin Willard and company just picked up a statement top 10 W against Illinois.
The Ravens would have known their opponent by now, but Mother Nature kind of had a mind of its own. How the weather in Buffalo could potentially affect the Ravens' divisional round schedule.
Back to the couch he goes after an incredible and late run with the Browns. Joe Flacco and Cleveland exit the playoffs, shattering any hope of a reunion at M&T Bank Stadium for the divisional. That and more when Sports Unlimited starts after this.